It's free hit time, everyone! Now, I know it's about as exciting as a Jeremy Hunt budget, but I'm free hitting this week, along with many other people. So I'm going to be looking at, different options there. I know there's going to be a really template team. We've all seen it on Twitter, and all of the content creators have got basically the same team if they're free hitting. That's fine. I think there are a lot of different options to look at as well, so that's what I'm going to be looking at. Also, by the way, if I'm talking too slowly or if you're in a hurry, remember that you can speed me up on the YouTube settings and you can listen to me twice as quickly and I sound like a chipmunk. It's quite entertaining, but you get through all this nonsense a lot quicker. So do that if you want to. I said that weird, didn't I? Want to. Anyway, so last week was game week 27, and I did well that week, but we're in the middle of game week 28. So I'm recording this on Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? Oh, I don't know what day of the week it is. So I got a bit of free time today. That's why I'm recording the video now. Last week I did Watkins to Morris. Maybe that was a bit of a stupid move. I'm not sure. So far it hasn't paid off. But Watkins didn't do anything, so that's okay. And Morris has another fixture. So he is my captain as well. So hopefully he can score in the Bournemouth game and I get something out of him. We'll see. So far the week has been a bit meh, a bit boring. Started off looked like I was going to have a pretty great week maybe. I had Garnacho who managed to win 2 penalties, got 9 points. And I also have Havertz who scored and a lot of people have Saka who didn't. But my week is got a bit destroyed by the fact that I don't have Son, I don't have Palmer. Who else? There's somebody else I think. Is there someone else? Can't think. Who is? I think those two are maybe the highly owned players that are kind of damaging my rank. I kind of maybe need a way to get Son in. It's not easy, so I don't know whether he'll be in later on. But as I say, I am free hitting this week, so this team doesn't matter too much. And so far, it hasn't done brilliantly. The double game week players have been a total flop. I've still got that Bournemouth Luton game, and I'm hoping that Morris does something in that game. For me, with the way that so many people triple captained and captained Solanke, for my rank, I actually need him to kind of not do anything in order to get any kind of rank game. I'm on 37 points, which is a grey arrow so far this week, I think. For me, anyway. So other than that, nobody's really done anything. De Bruyne got an assist, I think, and on the bench, annoyingly, Van Heck got a clean sheet, and Gross, who I left out for Foden, I just felt like I'd play the City players, even though they were playing, what's it called? Liverpool. Sorry, forgot. So I thought I'd play. I thought it was a bit of a risk dropping Gross, and I fancied playing Garnacho. That kind of paid off. He got one more point than Gross, but I should have not played Foden. But how do who you going to bench is always a bit up in the air, and I always get it wrong. So that is what it is. Never mind. Looking at free hit next. So I'd always planned on doing this free hitting this week, and if the FA Cup things fell differently, I was going to change, maybe, if I had more players than I expected. But I liked it because it was a bit more no-brainer, and I liked that. That's good for me, because it means that I didn't have to think too much about my transfers going into these weeks, and I could pick players that a bit different, like Havertz. That one's worked. But it did mean I didn't have to go for players like Bowen. I like Bowen, and some of the Spurs players, which has not paid off. Because obviously, if you went for Bailey and Bowen and Son, then you're probably laughing because you've got them in already, and they scored a load of points recently. So these are the fixtures for game week 29. There's only four games on, so yeah, the template pick or team, whether you're free hitting or not, it's going to be pretty boring. There's a lot of people going to have the same players. So let's have a look at what they probably are going to be. So since I've earlier on in the season, it sounded like no one was talking about free hit 29, and I think yeah, maybe it is kind of a boring way to go, free hitting in a blank week, but it just kind of makes sense to me, and that's the way I kind of like to do it. I like to go a little bit differential, but I'm now looking and thinking, well, is it better just to go with a template team? Because the template team looks pretty good, and it kind of picks itself. I think a lot of people who are free hitting, and even if you're not free hitting, will have a lot of these players anyway. But I should gain on some of those players who have, taken hits to get to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 players, and have a few more players than some of those guys. I don't need to take a hit. And so if I do go down this template week, which the template look to the team, I don't mind too much. I think there's still space for one or two little differential picks, so that might be the way I go. Or I might go a bit completely different. I think I will have at least maybe two or three, maybe a bit more different ones. But obviously, I think that when you've only got those games, this is what happens, and people get funneled into. It's pretty obvious which are good picks for the weeks, and it's hard to the big thing is it's really hard to pick where a clean sheet comes from this week, and it's probably, I mean, the best defensive fixture might be Brentford's. They're playing Burnley. I mean, Burnley did score this week, and Brentford's defence are not the best, although they did play well against Arsenal for most of the game. They let in 2 goals towards the end, but I thought they were a bit unlucky. So I think a lot of people might have two Brentford defenders or a goalkeeper. I think people will go for Flecken. Flecken looks like a good pick this week. Pick any goalkeeper. I don't know where the clean sheets are coming from. I don't know where the save points are coming from. If somebody gets a penalty and saves it, then obviously you're laughing. But yeah, I think Flecken's the obvious pick. Then a Regulon, because he's an attacking defender in that team that might get a clean sheet, possibly. I don't think there's going to be any clean sheets. I think there might be goals in every single game, and every team scores and every team concedes. Maybe, I don't know. But Regulon is injured, so he might not. If there's a doubt there, then obviously someone else. But another Brentford defender, maybe Ruslev. Doughty, just because there aren't that many options, and he's an attacking defender. He plays for Luton. He's on corners. He's quite. He gets forward. He's quite an exciting, good player, good young player. They're playing Nottingham Forest. I kind of want to pick some Forest players, but they're not playing very well. So I don't. So I'm thinking maybe that's a really good fixture for Luton. It's at home. They always seem to concede though. So I don't know. Yeah, he's in the team there because there doesn't seem to be or there aren't many other options. A Spurs defender, because I think you probably got to go 3 Spurs. Pedro Porro is probably the most attacking if he's playing. People saying he's not, getting forward and isn't as good an option when Madison is in the team. Well, yeah, so you could go Udogi as well, and that's another popular, decent pick. No problem there. I think Son is pretty much the only lock for me, or one of the only locks for me in this team. There's probably a few more, but he is the number one. I think I've got to have him, especially. I mean, I thought I was getting away with it this week. He hadn't really done anything towards the end of the game. Then he'd got an assist, and then he got another assist and a goal. Oh, just was it like 17 points or something? Devastated. Brilliant player. Need to try to find a way to get him in my team anyway. So, but at least I can have him this week. So, and he will almost certainly be my captain. I think that's just. Madison will also be probably popular. Bowen, because there aren't that many great ones. He didn't do very well this week, which I was quite pleased about. Scored a hat-trick a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, in a week where there aren't that many great picks, I think he's probably another pretty obvious one to get in. Douglas Luiz, who's on penalties for Aston Villa, seems to be popping up attacking, with assists and goals anyway. So yeah, fine. he's in there. Watkins, because he's Watkins, and I think he's scored the most points of anyone in the game so far. I think that's right. Um, Partly because he's played every game week, but he's been very consistent, and he scored another couple of goals the other week. He's scoring. He didn't score this week, but he he could be a captain option against West Ham. Morris, we'll see what he does in the Bournemouth game. He's played pretty well recently, and he's scoring goals, and he's got a reasonably good fixture. Ignore the captaincy. I would put the captain on Son if I pick this team, and I'm likely to pick a few of these players because they're all good players. Tony is, not everybody's got Tony. I haven't got him. He's playing Burnley away. He's on penalties. Very good player. He hasn't played brilliantly recently, though, so I'm thinking of maybe going different. He didn't look very good in the Arsenal game, although having said that, there was one piece of brilliance where he just hit this volley over the top of Ramsdale. Had him absolutely scrambling. Ramsdale did really well, actually, to turn it over the top. So that would have been it would have been probably close to goal of the season. It was brilliant. It would have been a brilliant goal. So he does have these moments of brilliance anyway, even if he's not really in the game. Wissa actually looks their most dangerous player at the moment, and Buomo is also coming back, and so that also does that affect Wissa's minutes, and Mopai also can be rotated with him. And I thought earlier on in this a few weeks ago, Mopai was playing really well, and I thought maybe he would be an option this week to get in as a bit of a differential. But it seems like Wissa is starting and playing, so maybe Wissa is the one to go for. I don't know. And then on the bench doesn't really matter too much. I think that those if you pick probably 8 or 9 of those players, it will be in most people's teams, I think. And if it's not exactly that, then it might be a slightly different Brentford defender, a slightly different Spurs defender, so probably Udogi, and a different Brentford defender, maybe, or maybe there's people who are going for a slightly different goalkeeper. But yeah, that's that's boring FC. Maybe, I don't know. It's a good team, so I'll probably have a few of those in the team. So that's the boring team out of the way. Let's have a look at a few differentials. Someone else we could go for, different players. I think I'm probably going to go Flecken in goal, and hope that Brentford get a clean sheet against Burnley, even though it's away, because I don't really know who else you go for. Maybe the Spurs goalkeeper, but then you have to take out another player, and maybe the Luton goalkeeper, but I think Luton will concede. So it's probably Flecken. I think maybe go Ruslev in case Reguilon is out for that game. A little bit worried about that because he's played the last few games, but he hasn't played every game. I think maybe he'll be okay. Now, what was actually one possibility, and this is maybe a bit stupid, a bit out there, but it kind of works for if you ever play like Dream Team, especially if you play in the international things. Sometimes it's quite good to have like all from one team defensively. If you can pick a clean sheet, then you're laughing, you get a load of points. So I'm wondering whether I go 3 Brentford defenders, so like Adja, Ruslev, Flecken. But that seems high risk because I think most people will have at least 2. So if they don't get a clean sheet, I'm probably going to get nothing out of all those 3 players. If they get a clean sheet, I'll probably get like 18 points or something. So that's an option where I could go. And that would mean then that I could get rid of Udogi or Porro and have 3 Spurs attackers instead, because I think that could work. I think Spurs are going to score goals, and they're in form at the moment, especially Son. So that could be nice. Have say a Maddison, and maybe a Johnson or a Werner or someone, or possibly Kulusevski if we know he starts. So these are the I've left Doughty and I've left Son in. I've left Flecken in. I think that's the only players that are the same. And Bowen. The differential players in here. So of Udogi, I could go for just because he's slightly lower owned than Porro, and I don't mind him. I think he's almost as good. Um, it's almost like because Porro's more expensive, you think, oh, go for the for more expensive one. There is so much money. In fact, this team, I think I've got 19.4 million. Is that right? Is that how much I've got left? I think 19.4 million left over. What? That's insane. And I haven't got that great team value. I think I've got 104 million or something, 104.5. I know some people have got 106, 107. So, yeah, it's you pick whoever you want. It doesn't even matter. I haven't even pressed the button yet. I'll have to remember to press it. So, oh, got interrupted then. So I'm not sure if I've lost my train of thought. Probably. The other couple of different players that I'm considering Paqueta. We think he'd probably be on penalties. And since he's come back in the team, he's not really attacking player, but he seems to make the rest of the team play better. Players like Bowen, Kudos. Obviously, Kudos is another one that could go in the first 11. I quite like Paqueta because I think he's going to be very low owned and a bit different. I think going for one or two little differences will be fun, and if they pay off, then it'll be very fun. Going for a completely different team, like all of this team, might be a bit of a fool's errand. It might be a bit stupid. But who cares? It's my team. I'll do what I want. And if I think that's fun, I will do that. I've got no problem doing something different than everybody else because, let's face it. I mean, in fact, if you think about it logically, if I I'm playing this game for fun. It's supposed to be fun, and if I finish top, I mean, I'm not going to finish particularly high. I'm about 350,000 at the moment, and my target has always been top 250k. I'm not particularly good at this game, especially for the amount of hours I spend and waste on this stupid game. But if I finish top 100,000 or top 10,000, what difference does it make other than my self-esteem? It makes me feel better and it makes me look a little bit better on Twitter. I can brag and say, oh, look at me. But other than that, what difference does it really make if I don't enjoy what I'm doing? So, and for a lot of people, it is all about rank. I know it is, and that's fine if you play that way. That's not the way I play. And I partly it's because I'm not good enough to play that way, but I'm going to go a little bit different. It's just how different. So another player who I quite like is Bailey. He looks a good player and always looks creative in there. Um, you know, seems to create things. Sometimes just seems to score goals out of pretty much not a lot. So I quite like having Bailey in there as well. Muniz has played pretty well recently, scoring goals, and there isn't really any competition for him in the forward positions. I think Tottenham at home, I think they could score in that game. So he could be a nice little differential to have in the team. Werner, I really like. He's one of these one of these players from Chelsea last season that did nothing. And I only wish Mount was the same because I support Man United and Mount has disappeared off the face of the earth. He never seemed to ever get injured, and he's been injured all season. So yeah, I quite like that. I think as long as Werner starts, I think he could do something against Fulham. He's really played well since he's come into that Spurs team, and I think on that left hand side, and you've got Son in there as well. So I think I like Werner. Again, the captaincy isn't accurate. I would put the captaincy on Son. Don't think there's any reason to go totally mental on captains. And Vissa, as I was talking about, is a nice one to go for as well. And I think I'm quite likely to not have Tony in my team. Now that could be dangerous as if he goes off and just scores a load of goals, especially against Burnley. He could score a hat trick. If he gets a penalty, then it's game over. But I quite like it. I do like Vissa. I think he's a hard-working player, and he really looks like in that Arsenal game he was Brentford's best player in my opinion. So yeah, that I could go for something like this. The ones as I say, I'm probably going to have Son. I'm probably going to have Bowen. I'm probably going to have Flecken. Probably going to have Brentford defender Reguilon or Roslev. Doughty. Probably Spurs defender. So either Udogi or Porro. And then the midfield. I mean, it's not totally mental this because I've got Bowen, I've got Son, I've got a West Ham midfielder that could be Kudos. I've got Bailey, that could be Louise. I don't have Madison in there, and I don't have Tony, and I don't have Morris. And the big one I don't have in there at the moment is Watkins. So I think I'm going to have Watkins as well. I don't think I can refuse Watkins. So my team might look more like. Well, by the way, someone like a Dean could be decent if he starts. But how do you predict who's going to start for Aston Villa defence? And are they going to keep a clean sheet? Probably not. As I say, I'd like to fit someone like a Langer in or Gibbs White as well. So I've spent too much time on this team already, and I'm whittled on. But yeah, so I think the team will probably be a Flecken, Brentford defender Doughty, Spurs defender probably Porro, Son, and then one of I think I'm going to go Werner, Bowen, Watkins, and then the other few spaces are up for debate. Let me know if I've missed anybody, or if you think I should kind of shoehorn someone in that I'm not really talking about. What's your free hit team look like, or are you free hitting? Have you got like a way better team than me anyway, with no hits? You probably have. So let me know what that team is too.